We all have our fair share of guilty pleasures when it comes to all sorts of entertainment, TV shows, movies, books, comics, video games. Mine happens to be Skull and Bones, a game I've been interested in off and on since it was first announced back in 2017. Obviously a long delay between it officially launched a few months ago. Nearly a decade of development and a lot of times development hell. It was supposed to be a unofficial online multiplayer sequel to Black Flag, but that's not exactly what we got with Skull and Bones. But it's not necessarily a bad game. In fact, I dare say this is a very fun pirate PvE and PvP game. Yeah, there is some PvP in Skull and Bones, but the plan is for there to be a 5v5 PvP mode that might just help Skull and Bones bring in more players. A fun fact about the original Skull and Bones that we saw back in 2017, its original concept was supposed to be a PvP mode, but a lot of changes along the way. We ended up with a mostly PvE game, which is fine. We've had 3 seasons so far. We have one more season coming up in a few months from now. Hopefully we get more than 4 seasons depending on the success of Skull and Bones. But I think what this game really needs is a really good PvP mode. Originally, it was supposed to come out as part of Season 3, but it got delayed. This message came out August 14th from Skull and Bones official socials. Message from Skull and Bones team looking ahead to Season 3, which officially has launched, by the way. Ubisoft had been thoroughly testing the PvP game mode internally with the insiders. They received great feedback and identified more opportunities to improve further. Because the quality of the experience is paramount to Ubisoft, they made the decision a few weeks ago to postpone the release of the 5v5 PvP mode. Their aim is to take the time and ensure that they address most of the critical feedback before it's in players' hands. Therefore, it will not be available with the launch of Season 3 or in the PTS. More information was supposed to be provided regarding the PvP mode in the letter to the producer article that came out a few days later, but I looked through that letter and I found no information regarding the 5v5 PvP mode. So obviously Ubisoft is working hard behind the scenes to make sure they get the 5v5 PvP mode for Skull and Bones right, because I think they realize how important this mode will be to the future of this game. There is already some PvP in Skull and Bones. The ability to turn the PvP flag on or off. If you have it on, then you can actually fight other ships that have the PvP flag on. You can do the cutthroat missions, which are PvP based, as well as PvP themed hostile takeovers. But almost everything else in Skull and Bones, from the seasonal stories, the bounties, the captains, the sea monsters, all of that is PvE. And to be honest, I am more of a PvE guy, but I recognize the importance in an online live service game in having a really good PvP mode in order to bring in more players and keep current players interested in continuing to play the game. Case in point, when Fortnite first launched, it was just a zombie-based survival mode, which wasn't doing too well until they added a PvP mode known as Fortnite Battle Royale. And the rest, as they say, is history. Now, I don't expect Skull and Bones to end up getting as big as Fortnite, but I firmly believe it will bring more players to Skull and Bones. Speaking of the count, let's go to Steam charts real quick at the recording of this video. I want to do a few comparisons right now. So Steam charts obviously doesn't cover the entire player count. It's just basically Steam, PC. So this does not include players on Xbox or PS5. But at the recording of this video, the player count for Skull and Bones was pretty low, 729 players. It had just recently launched on Steam a couple weeks ago. Meanwhile, Sea of Thieves, another game I enjoy playing, had 5,350 pirates sailing around the high seas, and probably safer seas as well. So right here you see that Sea of Thieves has way more players active than Skull and Bones. But there are two other games I want to mention when it comes to the Steam charts. World of Warships has 5,667 players, and War Thunder, which is tanks, planes, and yeah, you guessed it, ships, had 38,760 players once again at the recording of this video. I believe that Ubisoft wants to bring in a PvP mode that makes Skull and Bones more focused on competing for the players of World of Warships and War Thunder rather than the Sea of Thieves players, because you're going to have players that are strictly Sea of Thieves. You're going to have players like me that like Sea of Thieves and Skull and Bones, so they already have us. What they want is to attract other players from other games that are kind of similar, which once again includes World of Warships as well as War Thunder. What better way to accomplish that than with a really solid 5v5 PvP mode in Skull and Bones? And they've already built kind of a foundation of sorts for a PvP mode because they have a variety of ships, and they plan on adding more ships down the road. There are currently 12 ships available, excluding the Dow, which is basically the smallest ship we have. It's a starter boat, also our hunting boat. You can use it for stealth missions as well. But ships can be crafted at the shipwright. They can also be upgraded. And there's two different sizes right now, the small ships and the medium-sized ships. And the small ships include the Better, Hulk, Cutter, Barge, Sloop. Medium ships include the Padawakang, Snow, Brigantine, Sambuck, Bark, Brig, and the newest ship to be added in Season 3 of Skull and Bones, the Battle Junk. There's also three different, I guess you could say, classes or types that these ships will fall into. Some are DPS, others support, and then there's a few other ships that are tank-based warships. And then we get to the variety of weapon types, which include different types of cannons, along with ballistas, sea fire or Greek fire, bombards, mortars, spring loaders, rockets, as well as torpedoes to equip your ships with for combat, whether it's PvE or eventually PvP. And you can also get armor types, different degrees, as well as pros and cons and perks to those armor types. Various furnitures for your ship, which have different types of boost and pros and cons to them, as well as a variety of cosmetics that you can unlock, purchase with a variety of the different currencies in the game, such as silver, the pieces of 8, sovereigns, and even some that are available in the store that you can purchase with gold. In other words, the microtransaction of the game. I also like the fact that we can name our ships because people love naming ships in real life and in video games. And you can own up to 40 ships in Skull and Bones, and that leads to a lot of different variations, options. Now, not everybody needs to have 40 ships. Some of you might be content with just having one of each class, or maybe half of these, or maybe you just want DPS ships or support ships, or some of the tank ships. All of this points towards a very good foundation for a 5v5 PvP mode because we already have a variety of ships, different sizes. Some might want smaller ships or medium-sized ships. Maybe one day we'll get some large ships. Most of us don't really know too much about the 5v5 PvP mode. We do know that you're going to be able to play it with other players, 5v5. There's going to be a progression to it. There's going to be rewards that you'll be able to attain by doing the PvP mode, which is awesome. I think that's a good thing. Hopefully the PvP mode also ties in towards the Smuggler's Pass, so it might be another way to help rank up the Smuggler's Pass. I also hope that it's more of a team deathmatch type PvP mode rather than LTS. That way players won't be too upset when their ships get destroyed because they can simply just respawn back into the match until one team wins and one team loses. I don't know if it's going to be point-based or time limited. We'll just have to wait and see until hopefully we get more information prior to the release of the PvP mode. The winning team definitely deserves to get the most loot as its reward for winning the match. I think that the losing team shouldn't sell away with nothing. They deserve to get some rewards as well for at least participating in the PvP mode, because if they sell away empty-handed, then they may be less inclined to want to play if they keep losing over and over again, because sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose. It's going to depend on what team you're on. But the rewards I envision are, the usual stuff: silver, pieces of 8, maybe some unique items that will RNG into your inventory, like furniture, cosmetics, maybe some unique weapons for your ships. Clothing items would be cool. As long as the PvP mode is fun, balanced, and rewarding for both sides, win or lose, I think that this will be an absolute positive for Skull and Bones going forward, for current players as well as potentially new players that might be interested in trying out Skull and Bones whenever the 5v5 PvP mode launches. I think there's going to be a free trial that coincides with the PvP mode for players to come in and just check it out and see what they think about it. If they like it, then maybe they'll purchase the game, and if they don't like it, then at least they're willing to give it a try. Despite the fact that I'm obviously not really a PvP player for the most part, I am willing to give this 5v5 PvP mode a chance. And if the PvP mode ends up bringing more pirates to Skull and Bones and increases our numbers, that's definitely worth waving the Jolly Roger for, in my opinion. What are you hoping to see in the 5v5 PvP mode? And do you think it has potential to bring more players to Skull and Bones from like World of Warships, War Thunder, and maybe even some more players from Sea of Thieves? Your thoughts, views, and opinions, welcome, as always, below in the comments section.